Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to Creative Grandma's channel. It's yarn swatch time. This is my new series where I pick a certain yarn. I buy several skeins of that yarn in the same yarn but in different colorways, and then I work that yarn up using different stitch patterns to show you how that yarn is going to look. It's a fun way to let you see some of these yarns and how they really look when you're working on a project. This is all about the Premier Puzzle yarn. This is one of my favorite yarns to use, and I use this in a lot of my designs. So first I want to tell you a little bit about the yarn. This is the Premier Puzzle. There is 20 different colorways. It's 100% acrylic. It's 328 yards. 300 meters. It's a large 7-ounce skein. It's 200 grams. It's a number 5 bulky weight yarn. So what I like most about this yarn is it has passed the standard 100 test. It has been tested and approved against 350 harmful substances. And I like that because with the making of yarns and using chemicals, it's nice to know that this is a safe yarn to use. It is machine wash cold, tumble dry low. The yarn is made in Turkey, and this yarn sells for $7.99. So I also like that sometimes on some of these yarns, they work up a project and you can see how this yarn is really going to look. So that's nice. Some colors they don't. They have different projects, but in this case, this particular color has a beautiful Afghan on the label. Look at how that yarn works up in this colorway. So this is the color Double Dutch, very beautiful when worked up. It's color number 1050-33. So I'm just going to lay my yarn down and show you my first sample. I just did a really quick and easy ripple stitch. Again, this is a number 5 bulky weight yarn, so it really works up quickly. It's just a really beautiful colorway. Now this is partial colorways of the skein where I started with this little bit of a medium brown, white, and pink mix, and then it got darker, and then it went into those lighter colors. Now this is a smaller sample than what's shown on the label, but it does give you an idea of when you're working on a bigger project. It does change colors in the middle of the row. Like here, the grayish color went to lavender, and down here it went to brown and pink, but it's such a subtle change, you really have to look. But it's just a beautiful colorway when you like working with those self-striping yarns. So my second sample, I decided to do just a single crochet circle. Now again, it all depends on where you are in the skein when you start your circle of how that circle is going to look. Now I ended my ripple with this darker color, and that's where I picked up. I just fastened off my ripple stitch and started my single crochet circle. Now this is made where I did not join my round. I just kept single crocheting round and round and round. So this circle is more of the darker colors, and I didn't get quite to the lighter colors to show you because it uses so much yarn to make the samples. I wanted to have some left in the skein in order to show you what the skein looks like and how these stitch patterns look when you're using this yarn. So I hope these videos are helpful. Now I have to say, this is my favorite. I love doing this pattern. It's quick, it's easy, and it has a beautiful look with this yarn. So again, this was the Double Dutch. It's color number 1050-33. So the next color I purchased was this beautiful green gray with a little touch of blue in there. And this is color 1050-10 Maize. Now all the information about the yarn is all the same for all the colors I'm showing you. But if you look close, you're going to see those beautiful different colors of green mixed with gray, and then it's almost like a bluish gray mixed in. And I don't use a lot of greens, but I thought I'm not going to like this one because I don't really use greens in my projects. I stick to those brighter colors, and this is when I always tell people, I have to laugh at myself because I'm always telling people to get out of your comfort zone, try something new. And when I started working this up, I really fell in love with this color. It's really beautiful, and it just has a beautiful blending of colors. Now, it did have a little bit wider patch of that grayish blue, and I'm going to get it right up to the camera to show you so you can really see the colors. That beautiful blue mixed with that gray is just gorgeous. And then how they blended it in with those other colors. You can just see how the two different tones of colors mixed together just create a gorgeous yarn. So that is my first sample. So my second sample is just a row by row granny, just a really quick and easy stitch pattern. And what I like is, even though this is a 5 bulky weight yarn, it just works up beautiful. It has great stitch definition. It has great drape, even for a 5 bulky weight yarn. So I'm just going to show you the two samples because I made this one first. So this sample, again, this is where I started from the skein. I worked this single double crochet stitch pattern, and then I just fastened off and started working this row by row granny. So you can see how the colorway come out of the skein a little bit more. And it's so fascinating to me of how their yarn design team really puts all the hard work into the yarn. So this is where it's fun, because when I look at this gray and blue, I would have never thought to put the gray and blue with this green. So they're the ones that really create these beautiful yarns, take all the guesswork out for us, and it allows us to make beautiful projects with just a wonderful coordinated colorway. So that again was the color Maize, color number 1050-10, beautiful earthy greens. The next color I chose is this beautiful multicolor. You're going to see oranges. It's almost like a reddish orange mixed with a whitish light blue, a little bit of cream color, a little bit of yellow gold. Just a fascinating colorway. And this skein has a picture of a gorgeous afghan on the label made using this yarn. So you can see the self-striping, and look how beautiful that pattern is. Let me get it right up to the camera. Isn't that gorgeous? Just beautiful colorways. And this is color marbles. This is color number 1050-34. So let me sit the yarn down and let me show you the stitch pattern. So my first sample is this beautiful lightly textured stitch. It's just where I'm working a double crochet and then a front post triple and then a double crochet stitch pattern. This is where I started pulling from the skein, and this is how the yarn coloration started working up. Now I did notice this little bit wide patch of orange, and again, it all depends on what stitch pattern you're using, how wide or how thin your project is. And let me just show you that design again on the label. This is a self-striping yarn, so no matter how wide your project is, you're going to see that you're still going to get that gorgeous, beautiful striping pattern. So that's my first sample. So my second sample, I decided to just do a solid granny. You can see where this is where I fastened off with this yellow, and then I just started my granny square right where I fastened off from my first sample. So again, it all depends on where you start on the skein of what your square would look like. But what's fascinating about this yarn is I can see starting and making some granny squares and having different colorations, because there is quite a few different variations of how this yarn comes out. You could make a beautiful afghan by just maybe doing 4 rounds, creating your center, and then just maybe work it up until you have 3 different colorways, fasten off, and then when you start your next block, you're going to have a different coloration. And wouldn't that be pretty to do that and then put that together as as an afghan. So all kinds of possibilities with some of these yarns. So I thought this was a really pretty color. And again, when you look at that afghan on the label, it's just gorgeous. So again, this was Color Marbles, and it's color number 1050-34. The next color I chose is another one of those colors that's out of my comfort zone. I don't use a lot of the dark browns and black or gray colors, and I wasn't really sure if I'd like this one either, but then I started working it up. Look at this pattern on the label. Now my husband went and he wanted a dark brown leather sofa, and I thought this would be perfect if you have those dark leather sofas. Wouldn't that be gorgeous as an accent piece to go in your living room? I just thought that was gorgeous. And this is color Dodgeball. It's color number 1050-32. So let me show you my sample. So my first sample is just a really simple double crochet stitch pattern, but I did the double crochet 2 different ways just to show you how and where you put your hook and make that stitch can really make a difference. So the bottom portion here is just a double crochet where I crocheted into the back loop only, and you can see how it creates ridges in your work. Just a beautiful textured look. And then the top, I just did a double crochet in the top of both loops of each stitch. It just creates a flat surface. So when I look at my sample, I think I really like working in the back loop because the little bit of texture just gives it a little more interest to the stitch. The top portion, I have to say, is a little more boring, just regular double crochet stitches. Doesn't have really a lot of interest. It's the colorway that is going to add the interest to the design. But I think it's nice when you just do just that little different technique of putting it in the back loop, of how it really draws your eye and gives a little more interest. So just something to think about when you're working on your next afghan, to put a little interest into your design. So I fastened off up here using the dark color, and then I started my second sample. Now my second sample, I just started right where I left off. I fastened off with that darker color, and then I just made another one of those solid granny squares. Now again, you can see how this darker color is really pulling your eye to the center of this square. And again, it all depends on where you're pulling your yarn out of the skein. If I started with this light color, then my eye would probably be drawn to the light color in the center of the block. But just the color combinations in this yarn is just, it's really earthy. It's just a beautiful color if you like those neutral colors. So let me just show you the afghan on that label. I just think this is beautiful. It's really not doing it justice. I'm trying to get it up close so you can really see those browns and those dark grays and just how pretty that design really is. So again, this is color Dodgeball, color 1050-32. Now the next colorway I chose was this unusual colorway. It has dark blues, it has greens, it has purple and a purplish pink. And I'm still not sure how I feel about this colorway. Now when I look on the label, I love the look of this afghan. I think it is extremely beautiful in the picture and on the label, but working up my samples, I'm still not sure about this colorway for my own personal taste. It just depends on what you like in colors, what stitch pattern you're using, and you know, just your preference of colors. So this is color Leapfrog. This is color 1050-30. So let me lay the yarn down and let me show you how it worked up. So my first sample, you can see how those colors started to work up. Now this is a lightly textured stitch pattern. It's a single crochet and 2 double crochet worked into the same stitch. So it just creates that lightly textured, beautiful stitch pattern for a baby blanket or a full-size blanket, maybe a cardigan. But you can see how beautiful those colors work up. You can see that green, how it brings a burst of brightness to the color, a little bit of light lavender purple down here mixed with that dark purple to add a little more brightness to the pattern. So that is my first sample. So my second sample, I decided to make a larger granny square. So I started right in the center where I fastened off from my first sample, and then you can see how the colors went around the granny square. So let me move this out of the way a little bit so you can really see it. Again, it's a 5 bulky weight yarn, but I just love working with it. It's cushy, it's soft, it's wonderful to work with. So that is my second sample. Now, I do think I like the first sample a little bit better because it seems to have a little more definition to the design, and that's where it all depends on the stitch pattern you're using, what project you're making. So this is my first sample, and then the granny square is my second sample. And again, that was the Leapfrog color number 1050-30. I have 2 more colors to show you. This is a beautiful white and gray and dark gray colorway. Look at this gorgeous afghan on the label. Now, I believe this is a knit afghan, but isn't that gorgeous? You can see how it changes from that light to dark to medium. Just gorgeous. And this is my first sample. Now at the bottom, again, I started right where it was coming off the skein, and you're going to see this larger patch of this lighter color, and I just used a regular V-stitch. And then up here, I changed and decided to use a V-stitch with 3 double crochet into the center of the V-stitch, and then I just repeated that pattern. So down here, it just kept the design flow going back and forth. And when I changed my stitch and was using more stitches, I can see how the colorway changed colors in the center of this project. So again, it depends on what stitch pattern you're using. It depends on how wide, how narrow. But if you're making an afghan, you can judge by the photo on the label that you're still going to get that self-striping look when you're making those wider projects. I think this is a gorgeous color for in the winter when you have those gray, snowy days where the skies are gray and you're getting that beautiful, fresh white snow on the ground. It's just a really pretty neutral color. So again, here is my first sample made using that V-stitch. And then the top sample, you can see it made with the V-stitch and then the 3 double crochet into the top of those stitches. So that is my first sample. And then I did make another basic granny square where you can see I started with the color I fastened off with. Got that light gray, and then it goes to the little bit darker gray and then back to the light gray. So that is my second sample, and again you can see how differently it looks from a granny square to doing just a basic V-stitch or V-stitch 3 double crochet combo. So those were my 2 samples, and again that was Color Jack's color number 105028. The last color is this gorgeous, almost rainbow multicolor. I'm going to get that afghan right up close so you can see how gorgeous that afghan is. And look at these gorgeous colors. So when you look at this yarn, you're going to see that beautiful bright pink, that beautiful bright blue. You're going to see orange mixed with a little bit of yellow gold. Just a beautiful colored yarn. Now my first sample is rolling because I decided to do some Tunisian stitches. So I'm going to put my hand here because I was really messing around with different stitch patterns. So my sample may be a little crooked because depending when you're changing stitches, it's going to change the shape of your work. So this is the Tunisian knit stitch. I'm just going to hold this up so you can see how beautiful that works up. That again is the Tunisian knit stitch. And I'm so sorry to all my knitters. I just do not know how to knit to work this up so you can see it. This is the closest to knit that you're going to see from me. So that is the Tunisian knit stitch. And I don't even know what I was doing here. I was just messing around. I think I was doing a row of knit stitch and then a row of cross stitch, and it was just creating this textured pattern here. I'm going to have to figure out how I did that because I did like the look of that. So I'll have to recreate that and make a stitch of the week. But that is a Tunisian stitch. And again, I believe that was one row of knit and one row of cross stitch. And then I came up and I just did the regular Tunisian stitch, which is such a simple, really fun way if you want to learn how to do Tunisian simple stitch. This is really fun to do, really easy, and you're really going to enjoy it. But that is the Tunisian sample. You can see how that yarn works up. Now this might not be a very good indicator because I was changing my stitch pattern so much. Up here you can see how those colorways are really blending together, but because I was doing so many changes, it kind of didn't do a really good sample on this one. Now my second sample, I decided to do a circle, and I was really having a lot of fun doing this circle. You can see it has that little flower center, and then you can see how the yarns are changing colors as you go around. And I really liked how this was working up. It just seemed to fall in place, and I just thought it was really, really pretty. So again, it all depends on what stitch pattern you're using, how you put it together, what project you're going to make. Now, I just love the Premier Puzzle yarn. Again, they have 20 different colorways. And when a yarn has been around for quite some time, then you know it's a favorite among crocheters and knitters alike. So those are the 7 colorways that I showed you today. I hope this video has been helpful so you can see how these 7 colors look worked up. Now I'll have a special link in the description box underneath this video if you want to review all 20 colors Premier has to offer in this gorgeous yarn. Thank you everybody for stopping by. I hope you're enjoying my new series, Yarn Swatches. So until next time, stay inspired and happy crocheting, everyone.